Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to the fourth video in the Awakening to Happiness series. And these videos I created as a sort of a precursor, an introduction to some of the things we'll be exploring in two one-year programs that will be beginning in 2005. Actually, the Awakeners one-year program begins in December of 2024. How to Be Really Happy and Love Your Life begins in January of 2025. And the Awakeners program incorporates the Happiness program, and it all makes sense if you just go to michaelneill.org/awakeners and or michaelneill.org/happy. And I'll put those links in the text below as well. What I wanted to talk about in today's video is something that I first talked about in my first book, which was called You Can Have What You Want. But it wasn't meant to be called You Can Have What You Want. When I wrote it, it was called Soul Path. And the title came from a phenomenon I noticed with my clients throughout the first sort of, I'd say, 15 years or so of the coaching that I did. And what I noticed was that the clients that were really happy and successful, the clients that really loved their life, consistently did things that they really wanted to do and didn't do things that they really didn't want to do. Now, that may sound obvious, that may sound like no big deal, that may sound ridiculous, but the truth is that's what I observed again and again and again. They had figured out what they didn't like doing, and they mostly didn't do it, and they were in touch with what they wanted to do and loved to do and knew to do in real time, and they very often did that. And things unfolded in their lives as if by design. There was an element to which it looked to me like their souls would just lay out the next step, and then the next step, and then the next step. And if they weren't sure what the next step is, they'd sort of tune in and go, well, what would I love to do? Which way would I love to go? What would be the coolest thing that I could do? I wonder what would be fun. And they seemed very irresponsible, and I judged them for it. But quietly, because they were my clients, and you're not supposed to judge your clients. Mostly, I was just confused. Because everybody I knew, and me, myself, spent most of our time going, well, what should I do? What's the right thing to do? What would a good person do? What ought I to do? What do I have to do? And things didn't unfold as if by design for us. Things were hard. Now, we could do them, but they were... They rarely did we get those wonderful experiences of flow and all the coincidences and synchronicities that I was seeing in my very successful, very happy clients. And it seemed unfair until I realized, oh, it's not unfair. It's how it works. Through dumb luck or through some sort of inner insight or instinct, the people I saw who consistently thrived were following what I came to call their soul path. Because it was almost like their soul was just laying out for them, this one, and then do this. Oh, and then you could do this, and then you could do this. And the rest of us were following the sort of path of duty and drama. We were doing what we had to do. We were doing what we should do. We were doing what, made us good people. Now, understand, the people who were really happy and successful weren't not good people. I mean, they were about as good as most people. Some were very in tune with the way I think good people should behave, and some not so much. Same as all the people who were miserable. It just was so significant that it became my healthy obsession. It became something that I studied and something that I really worked with in my own life because I wanted to be like them. And I realized that it wasn't a character issue. It wasn't a genetic issue. It was nothing to do with age. It was nothing to do with wealth. It was nothing to do with male or female or other. It was just a way of being in the world that works really, really well. And so this video is going to be a little shorter than the other videos because the way that you're going to get the most out of uncovering your soul path is by uncovering your soul path. In other words, by just putting it to the test. So if you want to put it to the test, here's all you have to do. For the next week or month or the rest of your life, but you probably want to start with a day or a week or a month. As often as it occurs to you, check in and ask yourself, what would I love to do right now? And whenever you can, do it. What would I love to do tonight? And whenever you can, to do it. What would I love to do about this problem or challenge or goal? What would I love to do as a next step? What would be super fun? What do I just want to do? And unless there's a compelling reason not to, go ahead and do it. And if there's a compelling reason not to, just don't. I remember being interviewed. So after the book came out, and it was a huge bestseller, and it was #1 in the United Kingdom, above The Lincoln Lawyer by Michael Connolly. And I was kind of in shock, but it kind of also made sense because I'd written it by asking myself, what would I love to write about? Well, what do I want to write about now? Well, what would be fun to write about? And that became the book. And the interviewer asked me, she was fairly young. She was in her 20s. And she said, well, I mean, it's my boyfriend's birthday coming up, and I don't want to go, but if I don't go to his birthday, it's going to be a disaster, and it's not worth it to me to not go. What should I do? And I said, well, firstly, what should I do is a non-soul path question. But secondly, go to his birthday. Walking a soul path is not a mandate. It's not a new should. It's not a new must. It's not a new have to. It is an option. It is a possibility. It is something we can do in any moment. We can tune in, check in, get a little quiet maybe if we're not sure. Well, I don't know what I want to do. Well, it's okay. Just settle. And you'll find that as you settle, things will occur to you. And if it seems wrong or inappropriate, don't do it. But if it seems wonderful, go for it. And from experience, I can tell you, you will be pretty shocked at how simple things start to seem, how simple so many decisions about what to do and what not to do start to get, how successful you start to become if you do this over time. There was an interesting study done by Marcus Buckingham that he wrote about in a book called The One Thing You Have to Know. It might have been the only thing you have to know, but it was essentially, he was a researcher at Gallup and a management consultant, and one of the interesting pieces of research he did was into what were the commonalities, what was the one thing you needed to know if you wanted to experience long-term sustainable success. And so basically what he studied was people who had been at or near the top of their field for 20 years or more. And he checked to see what is the one thing that they do or don't do that's different about them than people who don't. And the answer was somewhat shocking. And it was that they had figured out what they didn't like doing and stopped doing it, what they didn't want to do and found ways to not do it. Now, why would that lead to long-term sustainable success? Well, it's actually kind of straightforward. If I'm not doing things that I don't want to do most of the time, I'm probably going to enjoy my work. And if I'm enjoying my work, I'm probably going to do more of it. And I'm doing more of it and enjoying it, I'm probably going to get better at it. And if I'm continually getting better at something that I'm doing lots of over time, I'm probably going to wind up being really, really good, if not world class. And the opposite is also true, which is why everybody else wasn't, which is that if I'm kind of hating what I do, then there's a pretty good chance that I'm going to do as little of it as I can get away with. And if I'm doing as little of something that I don't like and enjoy as I can get away with, I'm probably not going to get good at it, and I'm going to maybe even get bad at it. And if I'm not getting good and I'm not enjoying it and I'm even getting worse at it, I'm probably not going to do very much of it, and I'm not going to do it for very long, and I'm not going to experience long-term sustainable success. So in a really simple way, we're designed to follow our wanting, to follow our joy, to follow our delight. And the main reasons that I've seen why people don't is A, they don't know that's an option. B, they think that all the answers to the question, well, what should I do? And what do I need to do? And what's the right thing to do? Are based on some actual data as opposed to a random compilation of ideas that people have shared on social media since 500 BC. I know there wasn't technically social media in 500 BC, but so much of what we think of as, well, just this is how it should be, doesn't even come from us, and it doesn't even necessarily come from our time and place in the world. I said this video was going to be shorter. Apparently I lied. Didn't mean to. I get excited. I kind of love talking about this, which is part of the reason why we're going to spend a whole year exploring this stuff. We're going to explore what it is to go beyond ego, beyond the personality. We're going to explore what it is to go beyond fear. We're going to explore what it is to go beyond success, beyond psychology, beyond happiness. And we're going to be exploring that live and interactive and online and in as many different creative ways as we can, so that it becomes really obvious to you how close at hand happiness is and how surprisingly easy it is to fall in love with your life. And if you are somebody who wants to help wake people up to this deeper dimension of self, of life, this spiritual dimension, this happiness that we were born into, well, that's why I'm doing the programs, and that is why I would love you to join me. So michaelneill.org/happy for the happiness program, michaelneill.org/awakeners for the awakeners program. And you'll be able to read more about how those programs work. And in the meantime, I'm going to be back with a brand new video tomorrow. Do try the experiment. I think you're going to be surprised at how much you love it. Until then, have fun, learn heaps, and I will talk with you soon.